You ready?
We're going on what?
Okay.
Come on, we ain't got all afternoon.
Welcome back to Testing Times. This is episode 4, and today we have with us Louis Swallow. Hello, Louis.
Are we doing all right?
We've got to address,
The elephant in the room.
which is the naming issue. So obviously you're a swallow, so just explain what that means to you.
Fortunately, means you're my dad.
It does. So I thought we'd have a chat about what that's like.
Well, you being my dad?
Well, not just me being your dad, but me being your boss as well. So working in the business, what's that like?
It's quite interesting seeing a bit of a different side to you. Because before, all I've really known is you just talking about how busy you are. I didn't really sort of believe it. Believe it even less now. No, I'm joking. It's interesting, obviously, as knowing you as a boss in comparison to just knowing you all my life as my dad. Obviously, still the same person, but there's different sides here. I feel like I see now.
Well, that's interesting. I never really knew that. What have you seen then? I'm quite interested now.
I feel like you're more understanding as a boss
I'm a good boss.
than you are as a dad.
Yeah.
I didn't say you were a great boss.
No, I think you did. I think that's exactly what I heard. I heard that you said I was a great boss. So, anyways, carry on. It's fine.
What, just blowing smoke up your ass?
It can be. You can carry on.
No, you just honest, hardworking. I think that's sort of then you breed that culture then to the rest of us. Whereas when you're my dad, you're my dad. There's similar roles in terms of discipline and rewarding, but I think you're firm but fair.
Okay, good. I think I remember kind of thinking about all of this process going back a while, because obviously what you did for the most of your junior days were sort of like play football. So we'd spend quite a lot of time getting you to places in different bits of Leeds and Sheffield and Huddersfield and so on. So I think the key was that obviously I never thought at any point that you'd be anywhere potentially around what we'd be doing as a business. So can we just unpack a few things about the football side of things? You want to talk about that?
How long have you got?
Well, not very long, but let's try.
Well, so then narrow it down.
Yeah, okay. So you play junior football.
Yeah.
I'm stood on the side of the touchline. I get asked if I can do some coaching in the sort of spirit of cooperation and advancing things. I get involved in coaching. I end up with some coaching badges. You start to play football. And to be honest, you got fairly good. You get picked up by Huddersfield Town, and then realistically there's a whole set of different circumstances around whether you're playing football or whether you're actually progressing towards being a footballer, and they're two different things. So do you want to try and describe that?
Well, touching on sort of what I said previously, you always instilled in me a good work ethic. I think I wasn't massively talented. So obviously working hard, putting the hours in, being on time, being honest, they're all sort of good attributes. I think I sort of carried that through with me. I'm not mega bright. I'm not massively skilled in sort of one area. But I think since being little, I kind of get that from you, that just working hard, put yourself in the right positions. You never know who's there, you never know who's watching, and then things will happen for me. So, but I think that comes from good sort of foundations that you lay for me.
I think you underestimate yourself. I think when you got into Huddersfield, say for instance, then your work ethic completely changed. It's difficult for me to be able to kind of like do anything more for you because you had professional coaches and and so on. So I think, but we watched you kind of grow as an individual. The problem for you was you were one of those types of players who worked well with a specific type of coach, got kind of like, if that process had been bought into the coaching psyche, kind of worked for you. So, the likes of John Megson at Sheffield, for instance, were an out-and-out complete character, but he brought you to your best. And Kev Austin, again at Sheffield. So it's like you've got people who were mentors that realistically were always going to be better than me because they were ex-professional footballers and so on. But the key was that, like, I felt safe with them dealing with you, and you took that instruction. And I think all I ever did was potentially say, right, it is hard work. You've got to practice. The rest of it's down to you. I never kind of worried about you turning around to me on a blustery Monday evening to go down into Sheffield to go training, about you turning around and saying, I don't want to go tonight. And all those years that we trolled up and down the motorways all over the place, you never batted an eyelid. And I think that in itself, so it's all right, me kind of saying, right, well, this is what I'd expect you to be able to do, but it's a different thing potentially taking that on board and then actually delivering it as well. So, we'd always have on a way to football or whatever, a match, or we'd have a little bit of a debrief and stuff like that. And you kind of developed a bit of a mantra around it. And I think from my side, all it was just to make sure that realistically all you had was all of just the tools in the right places. Like you say, it's simple stuff. I think that in itself is a skill. So you were very good because you did all of the simple stuff very well. So and that's something that a lot of footballers can't do, because everyone thinks about Messi or the Iniestas or the Ronaldos, that type of player. That's the sort of top echelon. But then there's an absolute raft of stuff in the middle, which is all based on hard work, effort, and also being in the right place. But you were there or thereabouts.
Knocking on the door, I suppose.
Yeah, I mean, so things didn't quite work out with the football stuff. How did that kind of affect you?
Well,
as a junior football, we'll talk about potentially what happened when you went up to Harrogate and stuff, but
I think it probably affected me more than I might have thought it would have done, just because a bit of naivety. You think that's all you've got in your locker. So, do you know what I mean? It's what you want to do. It's the only thing I wanted to do since, I guess, as long as I can remember, really. Going to watching football, playing football, that was just my life, really, wasn't it? And doing most of it with you, or you there. But yeah, it did hurt, but it's what it is, isn't it, I suppose?
I think, again, you made the best of it, though. So you go back to playing junior football at 14, 15. You didn't have the best of times, but we get to the end of your senior school years, and you decided to do something different again at that particular point. So do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, I knew that school, I didn't massively enjoy school, possibly because of the environment and potentially how I was kind of wired. I was a little bit more of just a lad's lad, and I didn't really fit in with that sort of behaviour at my school. So I went up to Harrogate Town to play and do a BTEC rather than doing sort of A-levels, which was kind of like where we were all kind of funneled towards at the school I was at. There was no other option. It was A-levels, university, and that was sort of it. If you were outside of that mould, they weren't massively bothered with you, which might be a little bit harsh to say, but
on who?
To say it,
okay.
They might. I, being honest, probably didn't make the best of it as I could have done. So it's a bit on both
Football
sides.
side or
No,
college?
school, sorry.
Okay.
Which is why I kind of fell out with it as much as they fell out with me. So going up to Harrogate was really good for me, because I was in there less time than I would have been if I were doing my levels, more time on the pitch, and just had a really good time playing. I sort of just made some good pals, went and did the bare minimum really to get through my college work, and then went and played football in the afternoon, so it were ideal really for me at that time. And then obviously it opened up a few doors to go to America afterwards, which again was great for a while. Didn't sort of work out how I wanted it to go, but I knew that it was kind of like, in terms of football, it was slowly diluting into sort of poorer standard. So going from academies to then Harrogate Town, obviously they're a football league club, but they're not where they were at the time. I think they were still in the National League.
Yeah.
So going from,
I think they got promoted as you left.
Maybe, yeah, Championship to League One academies to then National League under-19 squad to then sort of going out and playing in America, where again the standard, it was good, but it was slowly diluting. So I kind of knew myself that it was no longer going to be a career choice for me. So I just went and sort of tried to enjoy it, and then once the enjoyment came to an end, I decided to come home.
It's interesting because the thing was, from my perspective as a dad, and then watching you kind of go through all these lumps and bumps without really being able to kind of do a great deal about it. You know, the chance of going to America were like almost the final bite of the cherry to a certain extent. Obviously you got a scholarship, you went and did, you had a university that you played for. Unfortunately it didn't work. I remember being absolutely mortified when you told your mum, because you didn't tell me, that you were coming back. But that's by the by now. I think the thing is that, you know, I came to terms with it. But it again goes back to me potentially thinking, right, well, I've got a lad who's a decent footballer. He'll always be all right. He won't need to work for me, sort of thing, because all of the things that I've kind of told you about what's required to be a decent asset to a business is completely different in aspect to being a footballer. Having said that, Tony, in one of our in the last podcast, talked about using sporting analogies, and I always kind of like, if I need to try and explain something to somebody, you know, I think about what I used to do in terms of practice when I played rugby and or any kind of sport that I got involved in. It always meant that you had to be disciplined. It always meant that you had to be polite. It always meant that you had all of these things that were, for a lot of people, think it's like, well, that's just standard. These are the kind of things that you just should have. But not a lot of people can kind of carry it off, you know, hours of practice, all that kind of thing. So you come back from America, and you're almost like, from my perspective, you're almost at the point now where you've got to start a working career, and that weren't on the radar.
No, I feel like you as well try to make a point with that. A little one.
In what respect? It might have been a big one.
Well, and I think, to be honest, when I come back, I never thought of working for you. I never took that opportunity for sort of granted. And I think you thought the same on that, that it was important for me to go and do something on my own. And I did, and got myself quite a cushy little job, to be honest. I kind of landed on my feet a little bit.
Another football mate who potentially
mate of a mate, but
yeah,
not what you know, is it?
well,
but that were an important sort of year for me. Year 18 months, however long it was. Just kind of like out of the football mindset and sort of into another one. And there was some similarities, like obviously that we touched on, just about being disciplined, working hard. I think things start to happen for you. And I was doing quite well, and my progression had a potential kind of start snowballing where I was. So that's when you then decided to come knocking.
Well, it was almost like, so you were right about the job. We're almost like I didn't want you to suffer, but at the same degree, I needed you to find your own path with it all. You know, you'd made your choices around what you were doing. It wasn't me removing all of the support that you were requiring, but it's like at some point in that kind of decision making for me, I had to potentially get over being disappointed for you about not being a footballer and well, not being able to take it to the next level. But then also as well, for you to be able to stand upon your own 2 feet, because there you are at 19, 20 years of age, you know, realistically, I'm thinking, right, well, you should be able to get on. I mean, you came back from America and I think you got a job within 2 weeks. So it's like, you know, you've got this knack of being able to just flip things around, which, you know.
Said to Tony, you make your luck.
Well,
you make your own luck.
I think, I mean, there's luck and now there's you, but you know but that's a good skill to have, and I think it was strange because I'd kind of watched you go to work every morning. You were always on time. You'd come home and you'd speak about what were going on at work, and you'd get frustrated about what your bosses had said to you and why they didn't think that your ideas were good and that they should do them that way. It's like I'm thinking to myself, well, those are good things, but realistically, remember, this is your first job, and you're not C-suite just yet, so you've got to kind of take some of it on the chin. But I kind of saw something different, but realistically for me, again, going back to all those simple things that then you kind of put them together, and that's like a real discipline. Those were all the things I were kind of looking for. So when we started to get busy, all I'm looking for is someone that I can trust, that's going to turn up, that's going to be honest and hardworking, and such like. So you felt.
And when you couldn't find him, you asked for me.
We looked, yeah. So we looked no further than your bedroom when you were there. So the thing was, it's like, but the other person that we needed to convince in all of this was your mom. So because your mom is like, you know, she's very disciplined. She's hardworking.
She's a real gaffer, isn't she?
Well, she's the boss, but there you go. Don't put that on the tape. But so the key is that realistically, like, I knew that. So I started to think about you potentially working for us, what that would look like, because we were massively in need of help, and like I said, the criteria was right. Can I trust this person that we're about to bring in the business to do X, Y, and Z? So I remember and I conned you into this because realistically we were playing Nottingham Forest.
Oh yeah, unpaid labour.
Unpaid labour.
Get that on the tape.
It's work experience, but so I take you on a job just to see if you'd like it. But one of the things that anyone who knows you knows this, that like you're a professional eater. So you know the key is that you like food. Well, you love food, and you know my camera roll is full of you eating. So it's like, you know, it's your favourite thing.
Where we're going with this?
Pound for pound, the best eater, I think, is the
That's me. It's in my Twitter bio.
Social media.
Have you been stalking me on
Twitter? Yeah, I have had a look.
That's going on.
Be careful of your friend on these kind of things. So, but I've thought to myself, right, okay, in order to engage you, well, I'll say, come and give me an hand on this job, and then I'll take you for something to eat before the game. So we end up in some Spanish tapas bar, and
I remember, yeah.
50 quid later, we've gone to the football. But the thing was, at that point then, I had no idea whether you had any kind of level of skill, interest, whatever.
It's quite a niche, isn't
it? I mean,
especially what we were doing.
Yes, it is, and potentially, if you look at the right at the top of it, it's very technical. But there are steps towards getting there, and the key was around sort of like when we did that job, I could feel that you had a bit of an interest for the first time ever. You know, I've run businesses, worked for myself for a long period of time, and you should know it. Well, the fact was that realistically, because you'd be off playing football, there were no point me asking.
There were no rule in my life for anything else really to think about.
That was something that I never really thought about. Even when we were doing sort of jobs, DIY jobs at home and stuff like that, it would always, you'd be out playing football, so I'd be the one painting skirting boards or whatever. So, but the key was that, like, that was a little bit of an epiphany for me and possibly for you at the same time. But then I remember thinking to myself, your mum's not going to like this. And I had to think long and hard how to potentially position it. But I went down the route of saying, right, you know, I almost, so your mum works in HR for anybody else who doesn't know, but so she's very principled around writing job specifications, making sure.
So I got me by the book on it.
Yeah, and to be honest, it's the right way to do it. So I profiled this person and kind of tried to scribe it into your mum in terms of saying, right, well, this is the sort of person I'm looking for. But knowing full well that basically when I'd kind of thought about this person, and at the bottom of the sort of description was your name, sort of thing. So it's like, I've got to get this right. So, but anyways, long story short, Mum were worried about us being able to provide that layer of separation between you being my lad coming in and doing a job, me being then your boss, which is it's a completely different thing. But how have you found the is there a demarcation line? Do you feel different in the morning when we come in, or what goes through you, Matt?
I thought we'd have to work harder at it than we have.
Right.
It just, I don't know. It's hard to explain. But I come into work knowing that I'm gonna work for my dad, but I still can crack on and do my job. But then still come in and we'll have a chat about whatever's, if someone's gone on at home or whatever. Do you know what I mean?
I think so.
I just,
there is a layer of separation for me, but
I don't think it was as hard as we thought it was going to be. It were initially when we were on top of each other, in terms of you had to obviously train me up. We spent a lot of time together. There was only one other person in the business, and he was kind of doing his own thing. He'd been there a few years, so most of, if not all of your time was dedicated to me. So we'd have little bickering, little spats that we might do at home, but after a while, when you let me go a little bit, you let me do a couple of my own jobs, and you left me with sort of to manage my own workload. I felt like it were a lot easier. So those first few months,
well, basically, I set my stall up to say, right, you ain't going anywhere without me being involved in the process for the first 6 months.
But it was sooner than that. By the time we'd got there,
you might have got a couple of instances where, but it were routinely packed out as a, you know, I'm going to make sure that I know what you can do within this 6 month period.
Yeah, but I think it were easier. I think we both understand that we've got a job to do, and then when we go home, we've got even more jobs to do. But
like emptying the dishwasher, which you never do,
or filling it up, which you never.
We always know when you've been. So the dishwasher has the floppy lid on the front of it, and when you open it, it triggers back open, so you know someone's been in there. It's been like a bit. It's like a bit of a mousetrap.
Right.
But the door will be. Mechanism will have gone, and we all know that Lou's been in the dishwasher and realised it's full of clean dishes, and you're nowhere to be seen.
Well, I had to get to work, you see.
Yeah, of course. Absolutely.
Because you were still in bed, so someone had to open up.
What day was this?
Every day.
I think that's a very tall story, but I'll let you off.
How would you know?
About what?
Being tall.
Oh, okay. Thanks for that one. That's very good. So I think the key is now, though. So we've transitioned from basically getting everybody on board with you being working in a my business. You've also then gone through the process of some formal training and so on. Do you want to talk about your apprenticeship just whilst we've got time?
Well, we've got Isaac, who is a bit of a tech expert on the data side. So my data analyst apprenticeship degree, whatever you want to call it, it's
what do you want to call it? because it's important.
It's a quality.
Yeah.
It's a hoop to jump through. It's something I've got under my belt. Whether I use it day to day is a bit of a different thing. Whether I'll need to, it's there if I need it.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that my role might have slightly transitioned to what we thought it might have been at the start.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously we're 2 years down the line. And I've only got a couple of months left to go on that. So it's a hoop, like I say, it's a hoop to jump through. I've got it. But it's about sort of then getting more relevant quals, I think, after that. I'm still in the sort of phase of I need to learn and I learn best while doing. I think college, like I touched on before, going to college and writing sort of assessments, and it's not how you get the best out of me, really. So it's something I need to do,
Yeah.
and it's something I'll just get through. And then once I'm through it, then the more relevant, the more vocational stuff.
Yeah, I think that's
is for me.
When we first started talking about it, I was keen to make sure that realistically you had a foundation qualification. Now, whether that's the right thing or the wrong thing, that kind of remains to be seen to a certain extent. But I think the key was, it's like, right, well, you need to have a qualification. I think about it slightly different than you, because it's important. So don't think that the qualification that you've got has been a sort
No,
of
I don't think it's.
But I think the other side of that, then, me magnetising you to my side for 6 months, was more along the lines of also then what other peripheral skill can I see within what you're doing? So you're very good with customers. You've also got good project management skills and such like. So it's like you've almost pointed yourself in your own direction. So I think, again, working in a small business, what you're looking for is people who can take things away from you, without really kind of identifying them. So that's a skill in itself. But then it's feeling comfortable and confident that if you did let that happen, then they were going to do a similar, if not better, job than yourself. But the key was then that fast forwarding to the vocational stuff was probably where I needed to be. But I needed to know that you could go through something formally. Again, it's another kind of test to a certain extent, foundation. But if you blend that foundation then with the stuff we've learned on site, and how to then potentially do an audit, what to look for, if you don't know what you're looking at, to be able to potentially gather the right information to bring it back to the office so we can do all of that good stuff as well. So realistically, those are sort of that's the pack of.
It's about how you apply it, isn't it?
Well, yeah, and I mean, the thing is that so tomorrow, it's the 1st of May, so that's you working for the business 2 years, which it's kind of flown by to a certain extent. There have been periods of time where it's been hard work, but that's because we've had to stretch and mold and bend to client requirements and whatever else. So, but I think the thing from my perspective is now get through these, get the last bit of your sort of apprenticeship finished off, and we can start to use some of your other skills, because you've learned a lot more around what goes on in the business. I know, we've given you access to some of the software packages that we use, and I know you like looking at the financials and stuff like that. So we've got a miniature business person in there. I know you like doing your investments with all the money that you earn from the business, and you like to look at your numbers. So I think that project management, this sort of stuff that you can do with the clients, the way you come across to people, it's all good skill.
The way I think of it is, it's about taking stuff off you.
I'm not very redundant. That's fine.
Well, because I think, how do I say this without insulting you?
Try your best.
I think the things that used to work potentially still do, and they're a little bit outdated, and there's better ways of things to do. It's not a criticism. There's still things that you'll be able to do that I'll probably never be able to do. But there's quicker ways of doing things, there's better ways of doing things. That it's not about. So if you take my data analyst apprenticeship, for example, that I'm doing at college, I look at that and then go, I'm never going to be better at analysing data than Isaac, who's the same age as me. So even if there's something that you might be better than me at now, I've got it sort of time on my side, Anna, to bridge that gap with you.
Yeah.
So those sort of things, it's very difficult for me to get motivated to do my apprenticeship when I know that possibly it's something I'll have, and but it's not something. If something comes in that we need data analysing for, you're gonna go to Isaac, aren't you?
Yeah.
So my focus is getting the stuff off you out of your brain, and basically being better at it than you.
Well, I mean, I like the sound of that. That's,
you know what I mean?
But well, that's good for me. I think the thing is that there's a lot of skill, potentially in learning all that stuff and then putting it together. So I think you just got to keep going as you are at this moment in time, taking work away from me. And if you do make me redundant, then I'll be happy. So I think that's all we've got time for, Lily. Thank you for
Are we all done?
joining us today. What's for tea?
So yeah, ask Mum.
Well, Mum's not here, so it's chicken for eats.
Buggered, aren't we? I am making it.
Thanks very much.
Cheers.